I was born with a rare disease. My memory would reset every day. So without delay, let me tell you how it all began. When I was born, something went wrong, which resulted in me getting the disease. My parents told me they first noticed it when I was around 2 years old. I would wake up in the morning and run away from them. I didn't know who they were, and I was scared because I thought they were strangers. Eventually, they took me to a doctor, and we were able to diagnose it as some rare disease that has only been recorded 5 times in the past century. It's that rare. So many issues arose as a result. I forgot people, memories, events. I forgot where I was, what year it was. I couldn't make friends. I didn't have enough memories to form relationships. I was the weird kid at school. I would come every day and have to introduce myself, even though they already knew me. And everyone had introduced themselves again, even though they had already done it before. For me, it was like every day was the first day of school. It was terrible. But for some reason, my cognitive skills and intelligence still retained their levels. I could still read and write. It's not like I forgot that. Doctors said this may be because my disease only affected a certain area of my brain. We had no idea what to think, so my parents and I believed that. Forgetting my parents was the hardest part, especially for them. We came up with a solution where we would record me on video, and I would have to explain all about my disease. So each morning, I would wake up to this video of myself explaining where I was, who these 2 strangers were, my parents, and why I couldn't remember anything. It was really a horrific ordeal. No one should ever have to go through that, but I did. I remember at school I was going through class, and the teacher said everyone needed to hand in their homework. Seeing as I had forgotten what my homework was the day before, I obviously was a special case. I didn't need to hand any homework in. Everyone groaned, and they all sneaked envious glances at me. Afterwards, a group of kids confronted me and told me I was such a freak. I believe them. Life was so hard. I really struggled. My parents helped me as much as they could, but it was tough. I found it hard to go on, until the doctors said they knew a way to heal me of the disease. I told myself not to get my hopes up, but if there was a chance to get rid of this thing, I would be so happy. My parents warned me against it. I might end up worse or get another disease in the process, but I told them I was willing to risk it if it meant I got my memories back. I went through so many experiments, brain scans, physiotherapy, memory diagnosis. It seems like it was all pointless. There was no progress. But then I woke up one morning and I remembered who my parents were. I was healed. But that wasn't all. I didn't just have my memories of my parents back. I had everything else that went along with it. And those other memories? They made my blood run cold because a memory loomed in my mind. A memory that revealed everything. I realized the truth. I realized why my memory was so faulty. It was my parents. They had done this to me. My parents had made my memory reset every day. The memory resurfaced in my mind, and it went like this. I was screaming, and I remembered my parents grabbing me. I remembered being taken in the car to this strange facility, men and women wearing black suits. I remember being strapped to a chair with some weird wires and equipment. I remembered my mom saying this was for my own good. It was for the best. But then, emptiness. That's when it must have started. That's when my memories must have been erased. When my memories started to reset each day. It was my parents. It was all their fault. They had ruined my life. That must have been why they were against me trying the experiments. How could they do this to me? I couldn't believe it. But the memories were so real, and I had no choice. I had to believe them. My parents could not be trusted. But I love them. I wanted to believe it wasn't true, but a part of me just knew it was. I was shocked by this sudden realization, to say the least. I had to confront my parents, but I was scared of what they might do. Would they reset my memory again? Would they send me away? I had no idea, but there was only one way to find out. That same day when I was sitting in the hospital bed with my returned memories, I confronted them. I have to tell you something, I said seriously. My parents looked concerned and they sat beside me on the bed. What is it? My mom asked. I took a deep breath and I let it all out. I know you did this to me, I cried. I know you made my memories reset. I know why I suffered. It's all because of you. My parents shrank back in shock. They looked at each other in horror. My heart sank as I realized they hadn't denied anything yet. I don't care what you do with me next, I said. Just please, tell me this. Why? Why would you do this to your own daughter? I was crying by this point. and I was shocked to see both of my parents were crying too. Why? I repeated. It was an accident, honey, said my dad. I frowned in confusion. What? We didn't mean to, said Mom between sniffles. I was so confused. What were they talking about? But then I reached an epiphany. New memories seeped back into my mind, and I knew the truth, the real truth. I realized why my parents had made my memory reset every day. Because I had seen something I never should have seen before. That's when I realized my parents were spies. The memory was so fresh, but it must have been at least 5 years ago. I remembered being around 10 years old or something. I had a nightmare, and I was getting out of bed to run to my parents' bedroom when I heard noises downstairs. I walked down, and there were my parents, except they had a hostage tied to a chair, and they were interrogating him. I was so terrified. They were yelling at him, and he was blindfolded, and my parents were all serious, telling him to reveal some sort of information. I remembered I was screaming, and then my parents looked at me in surprise. They froze, not knowing what to do. My dad whispered a few words to my mom, and that's when they must have grabbed me and taken me to the car. And the rest? Well, that's when they erased my memory. That must have been why they had done it, because I had seen too much. But did they really have to make me reset my memory every single day? Why would they do that? I still didn't know what happened to that hostage. You're spies, I said in a trembling voice. Their eyes filled with tears, but they both nodded. So it was true. My parents were spies, and they had erased my memories so it would reset every day. This was crazy. Why? I started, but my dad interrupted me. Sweetheart, we never meant for this to happen, he explained. We only wanted that small memory erased. We didn't mean for it to all go wrong. You see, when we had it done, something went wrong. A wire was out of place, or you rejected the treatment. I don't know, but something went wrong. And suddenly your memory was resetting every day. You have no idea how guilty we felt, said my mom. Every day was a reminder how we failed you. We're so sorry, but I know you can never forgive us. I hesitated. This was all too much. So much had happened in the past few hours, and I guess in the past 15 years of my life, that I couldn't really process what was happening. But I sighed, and I nodded. Of course, I forgive you. You're my parents, I said quietly. My parents sobbed, crushing me in their hug. I resisted at first, but then I gave in and let them hold me. My memories were back. My parents weren't my enemies. Everything was fine. Then, something really weird happened. The doctor, the one who had healed me, he came in. By the look on his face, it seemed like he had been listening to our conversation. My parents stood up slowly, bodies tense. But then the doctor seemed to relax, and he asked me how I was feeling. I'm fine, I said, but I was still wary. Do you think you could ask your mom and dad to leave just for a one-on-one consultation? He asked, seeming sincere. I nodded at my parents. They were apprehensive, but at my look, they left the room. The doctor pulled up a stool beside me. What is it you want to check? I asked. The doctor's kind demeanor melted away, replaced by anxious urgency. Tell me what you know, he said quickly. I was stunned. What? Tell me what you know of the hostage from that night. That night your memory was erased. My mouth fell open. How do you know about that? I work for the U.S. government, and I need you to tell me everything you know about that hostage. What did he tell your parents? What did they do? I was still trying to process the words. The doctor, or the U.S. government official, I suppose, snapped his fingers in front of my face. Hurry up, he snapped. We don't have much time. I don't know, I stuttered. I really don't remember. Please, anything at all. I don't know. I was too young. All I remember was a guy. He had a blindfold on, and that was it. We left before I could see anymore. The doctor sat back in his seat. And that's all you know? Yes. He scratched his chin. Alarm bells rang in my head. What about my parents? What's going to happen to them? They're fugitives, wanted by the government. People are on their way as we speak. I started to panic. No, they're not bad people. They have their duties. The doctor cut me off. It doesn't matter. They're wanted. For what? I asked. For murder. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. Murder? My parents could never do such a thing. But then I realized I only got my memories back just then. I probably didn't even know my parents that well. For all I knew, they could be perfectly capable of murder. They were spies after all. The doctor seems sympathetic. I know this can be a lot to take in, but your parents have to go to prison. It's the right thing to do. I nodded, but it seemed so wrong. Would I ever see them again? What was the use of getting my memories back if I couldn't even share them with my own parents? As it turned out, my parents got arrested. My doctor told me when they had left the room, they had suspected something was up and had escaped from the hospital. But the police soon tracked them down a few blocks away, trying to escape through the sewage system. They were sent to life in prison for first-degree murder. I had lost them. My parents were gone. That is, until a year into their prison sentence. They were pulled from prison. Apparently, they were working for the U.S. government. They were performing a service. They weren't fugitives. They were heroes. My parents were released, and I got them back. At last, after what seemed like years and years of torment, everything was back to normal. My parents were back, my memories were back, and we were so grateful for it. I could go to school again, I could make friends. My parents still continued their work, but I've learned not to ask any questions. After all, I wouldn't want another accidental incident in which my memory would reset every day again, now would I?